Hey guys, welcome to our channel. That was way too perky.
That was very perky.
I'm here today with Perry Johnson, who is normally the guy behind the camera, but we've dragged him out and we put him in a chair in front of it because we're cruel, cruel people.
I don't like being here.
No, he doesn't, but we'll try to keep him happy. Perry is the genius behind so much of what we do at Loud Poets. He does all of the photography for our Edinburgh events. He does photography for our friend shows. He does videos, a lot of which you'll see up on our channel. He does, what else do you do? So many things.
I do things and stuff.
He does things and stuff.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
And just a brilliant artist generally. And he filmed the video for my poem Polos, which we've been hyping like crazy.
Like crazy.
And it came out on Friday. In case you missed it, we'll put a link just down below if you'd like to check it out. And it was just such a joy working with you because you're awesome. Perry's one of the most kind of considerate, inquisitive videographers that I've worked with. And we wanted to bring him out today just to chat about the process of filming poetry and also filming dance and what it was like for you. I guess to start off, what were the differences for you between filming just I say regular poetry videos, by which I mean if I'm sitting here doing a poem to camera versus filming what we did, which was a lot of to camera shots and movement shots and all of those things. What were the differences?
Dynamics, first of all, just incorporating movement in there, because usually it's a camera on a tripod or a couple of cameras on a tripod.
Yeah.
This wasn't the case, so I borrowed a stabilizer and just needed quite a bit of extra gear just to be able to move the camera in a way that doesn't look unprofessional, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of practice. But we pulled it off, especially with, because most of the footage is in slow motion, that smooths out any sort of shakes there is in the camera already. So yeah. Mostly movement. What else? Generally working with you as well. This was more apparent in our filming the rehearsal bit, when we had a rehearsal space and filmed that. Because in the actual video, all I generally did was run around in a circle around you and let you dance.
Which was really funny as the dancer to be moving, trying to do this beautiful movement, and there's a dude with the stabilizer between his legs, like, trying to follow you around. It was great.
Exactly. But it was very apparent when we did the rehearsal, when I was just moving about the space, not in a circle, but just generally moving with you, that it requires a bit of knowledge of dancing. Like you need to be able to work with the dancer and move with the dancer.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. It is different, and it's just something a little bit new.
So were you kind of following my cues then for when
generally,
you were trying to move with me
and
against me as well?
Exactly. I was really trying to at least follow your movements and let the camera try and sort of organically follow you. Which there's the one shot really that I think of, which I really love, which is towards the end of the poem, where I'm moving around you in a circle and you are doing a hand gesture, sort of sweeping out, and I managed to get the camera to perfectly sort of follow your hand as it's panning.
Yeah, I love that shot.
Yeah, it's really
it's very
lovely.
smooth too, which you would think it was on a dolly or so. I don't know much of the technical stuff, but that was just you running around with the camera. And
literally. Just running around, and because I don't have a lot of experience working with a stabilizer, and also the stabilizer was very broken. Normally, so for the people who doesn't know, a stabilizer, a glide cam specifically, is a contraption that adds weight to your camera and enables you to shift the center of mass. I study engineering, this is my thing. To shift the center of mass of the entire rig so that it's perfectly at your hand, meaning that if you're moving the camera or anything, it should theoretically not tilt in any direction whatsoever, and it should keep steady. Okay. You couldn't do that with this stabilizer because it was so broken that I just had to do the best with it and basically try and use two hands and make sure to keep it as steady as possible. Wow. Which you will see that the camera tilts a lot as I'm moving, but because it's still slow motion, that
and it almost augments, because I kind of love that bit of unpredictability. It's not always perfectly smooth.
Exactly, which is the case with dancing as well.
Exactly.
And I think that maybe even sort of resonates a bit with your dancing.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the challenges, I grew up dancing quite a bit and did kind of pre-professional work, but I haven't properly danced in about a year. And so being back in the studio was like, this isn't going to be perfect. There's lines in there about perfect turnout, and my feet are not perfectly turned out. But it's kind of accepting, working with what you have. And I think your filming really captured things in this great way. It's one of the great things about being able to collaborate, because I was able to say, right, let's get this shot. You know, I'd love to see it from this angle, and you were able to say, well, okay, but then we'll need to move the lights, and it's like, you know, orchestrating this big thing, because I don't always understand all the technical concerns, and you might not have any idea what is good ballet or bad ballet, although usually you have, you know, some kind of eye for it, but yeah, you kind of have to bring those two things together.
That was very apparent as well in the editing process, because Katie came over after we filmed it, and we sat down together and looked through the footage, like looked through everything, to pick out the pieces. And I had already picked out a lot of the stuff that I liked, the majority of which she didn't like.
I just kept tossing things away.
Well, it became so apparent that we're obviously, we know what we like, we know what we like about our work. So I picked out the things that I thought really worked with my filming. And where, you know, the lighting looked really nice, and you would usually go, my technique there is awful, that's no, can't do that, cannot show that.
Yeah, and then I would pick out clips and be like, oh wow, like that is the perfect move, and you'd say, well, there's flickering, so no.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, oh no! You know, it's finding that balance though, and I think in the end we were both quite pleased with what ended up
entirely
coming out, and there are so many shots that I wouldn't have expected to work in the places, like for example the shot that we were talking about, that arm pan shot. I think you had it in there from the beginning, and I was like, no, we need something with more movement. We need it to be frantic in that part and crazy. And I kept saying to you, no slow, speed everything up, make it crazy, make it fast. And you're like, no. And now I really like that. I really appreciate that aesthetic. And so it's always that thing with compromise, right? You know, sticking to your guns about certain shots and being like, no, this is
exactly
good. And now I agree. I think that having that really long shot in that part of the poem is cool. It was funny in the editing process, because for me it was like choreographing in reverse. Because we didn't choreograph a piece to Polos. I'd had a piece years ago and decided not to reuse it. Decided that instead what we would do is we would get into the studio and we would just kind of improvise. We would jam it out, and there were certain shots that we knew that we needed, and so we planned those and did those, but otherwise it was just improvisation. And so we had, do you know how long the footage was? Maybe
I don't know.
An hour.
It was most likely an hour.
A lot of footage to whittle into 4 minutes. And so, but for me, it was like I had really strong bodily associations with certain parts of that poem. Like I knew the one part had to be me grabbing my stomach, and but other parts I didn't know. And so it was like, you know, again, choreographing in reverse, taking these bits and saying, well, this should go there, and this should go there, and this matches the mood, and this matches the outfit, and this lighting works, and the speed and dynamic. And it's so fun. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Although there were always times when I was like, well, I wish I could use that, but like my foot's sickled, or, you know, like it's flickering or whatever, and then you wish that you could be in the studio again to do it again. But generally, like, I don't know, is that how you feel with most of your videos? Like the joy is almost greater in post-production, because you can, or not in editing, because you can...
It depends on the video, and it depends on how shooting has gone as well, because I'm a massive perfectionist, which is not, it's not great for my sanity.
I mean, it's great for the finished product, but...
entirely. But yeah, usually it's the case with me where I've finished filming something, and if there's something that's gone wrong, I will be beating myself up about it a lot in post, and I'll be like, I can spend hours sitting and trying to fix this tiny little mistake, which most people won't even notice, I think, because, you know, obviously I notice a lot of the things about my work that most people don't. But yeah, if Polos was a joy, because we got a lot of good footage, and it's because we managed to set up the stage, and the venue was fantastic.
Oh god, the Biscuit Factory is just
phenomenal.
Huge warehouse space, this really, like, it's almost cinematic. It's just massive and empty and full of stories, and it was just phenomenal to shoot there. Freezing to wear leotard there in October, but you know, you cope. You cope.
We did. But that was a lot of fun to shoot.
Would you say that in the future, I mean, looking forward to video projects that you'd like to shoot, would you want to work again with movement? And
oh yes, absolutely. A lot with movement. Because it is a lot more fun, and it's, you know, cinema is really, well, cinema, videography, it's all about movement, really. I mean, that's the difference between photography and videography. There's a whole nother dimension of movement in there. You know, there's time, and, you know, time elapses and you move.
Do you, Perry?
I try.
Is that how that works?
I think so. I've spent a lot of time philosophizing, right?
But so, is there anything in particular that you learned from doing Polos that you would want to bring forward to any other kind of interdis shoots, just in the sense of, you know, because it was dance and poetry. And like, I know one thing that I kept thinking about is whether the movement can underscore what the poem is saying, whether it can kind of subvert the meaning of the text. You know, there's so much richness that you can play with there. So what would you think that you would bring forward to another project of this nature? I
love the sort of abstract nature of dance, and the way that could be incorporated, because poets always do movement. That's always been a sort of key factor in most of my videos. From doing, you know, my first video, The Carpenter, with Doug. It was always about, you know, the artist's gesture and how they move.
Right.
But it was a lot more fun because it's not just hand movement, which usually is with poems. You're standing, you're talking, and you know, wah, wah, wah.
That's what I think poems are. Wah, wah, wah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
that's about all it boils down to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't listen to the poems anyway. I generally zone out.
Why would you listen?
Why would you listen? It's, you know, it's liberals blabbing.
I'm trying to argue, but
it's kind of difficult, isn't it? Anyway, I love the abstract nature of dance and the way you can underscore lines in a way that you usually wouldn't be able to, because you're doing so much different kinds of movement than just moving your hands and arms as you're speaking.
Yeah, it gives you so much more scope.
Exactly.
Like when I was performing that poem at the Fringe this summer, I decided one day, I was like, well, I can take the mic out of the mic stand and I can move. And it was amazing to be able to do, because I've been performing the poem on the Royal Mile stages where you can kind of busk during the Fringe, and there's no mic there. So I wasn't limited to anything. I wasn't holding anything. I could really use my full body to dance it. And so I started doing that anytime that I performed it. And it opens up this whole range of abilities for performance that just really enhanced it. When I started, when Polos was first done, it was a full-fledged dance that I was like rolling around on the floor while doing it and everything. And I don't do that on stage anymore, but I think it's so great as an artist to be able to draw upon not only the textual, not only the vocal, but also the physical, also the embodied. And it's one of the things that I love about the video is you have so many different mediums. You have the text, you have the physical body, you have multiple costume choices, you have the different lighting choices, you have the music, which was done by Beluga Music, Sam Thorne and Fiona Little, and it's beautiful. And so it's just, you know, another way that all of these different mediums come together and you get this thing that is cool. So like, I think for me, like, I'm in a position right now where I think similarly playing at this intersection of multiple art forms is where I'm finding my jazz.
Exactly. One of the things I thought was really fun, actually, thinking back, is when did you do the Kickstarter for this? July? Early July?
It must have started in June, like May or June. Yeah. It was quite a while ago.
Because as soon as we decided to do Polos, which was like, you came to me and said, want to do a Kickstarter? I'm not sure which poem I want to film, and you said a few, and you said Polos. I was like, Polos, dancing, yes, I want to film that.
Pretty much immediate.
And then I printed out the poem in text form, and I obviously,
I printed it out in dance form.
Yes.
We used the 3D printer. It was brilliant.
But yeah, I printed it out and I went through it line by line. I went it over and over again and looked, this is, you know, with the very limited knowledge I have of dance, and I'm like, this is something we could do there. This is obviously dance moves, I think, because I don't know the words.
That's in French. That must be
it must be dance. So I would underscore that, and I went through, it took a lot of time to just go through the entire poem. And then a lot of time passed after I did that until we could actually film it, like 2-3 months. Yeah. And when we actually got into the space and filmed it, we basically just went, you know,
we tossed it away.
We tossed it away and just went, let's just do this and see what we come up with.
It was great too, because like some of the ones we did quite literally. So like with the dance moves, there's a bit where I say, Boré, jeté, fouetté, tombé into perfect PKs. And
the cliches of ballet replayed and replayed.
Perry now knows the poem.
Yeah, I now know the poems.
But so we decided for that. We didn't do every move that I'm saying because it would have been too fast paced, but we decided to kind of keep that literal and do those, show those moves on screen while I was saying them.
Yeah.
But with other bits, we decided, let's be more abstract. Let's not have it be every time I talk about body uncomfortableness, maybe, because more interesting to make another choice there.
Yeah.
And that's what,
Which is a thing I've always struggled with. It's when it comes to doing poetry videos, it's the question of what is too on the nose. I found that first film I did was Carpenter for Doug, and it was a lot of forestry imagery and stuff. And it became a case where is this too, he says forest there. Mm-hmm. Is it too much on the nose to show a forest? To show a specific tree? Mm-hmm. Which it was easier in your case because it's a poem about dancing. Mm-hmm. If we just show dancing, it's too much. It's not too much on the nose.
No.
But there comes a point where it may be. But it was so much easier just because we had that range of footage that we could work with.
Right. We could play because we shot a lot of quite literal stuff. So we said so for this line, if we want to, we can have bits of me. So there's a bit of saying where I say these are too large, this is too beautiful, and in performance I touch those bits. Yeah. But with the video, we weren't sure how to do that because there was that to face shot, but it cut off here, so that wouldn't have worked. So what we ended up doing is just using a shot of me kind of going across my body so that you could tell which body parts I was talking about. But it is again that weird bit of do you show it? Do you have an arrow saying this is what I'm trying to say, or do you leave it a little bit more open to interpretation?
Exactly.
And there's so much coolness in that.
And I thought that shot specifically was the perfect compromise for that. In fact, because I think we did think about it as you moved your hand across your body to signify those bits. Right. But it is also in a movement that could be dancing. It is very.
Because I think initially we did
we did very literally these
robotic. It felt so silly, whereas this was kind of a compromise.
Exactly. and it came through great, especially with because I filmed it in 60 frames per second, 72, and I could slow it down to just accentuate this, and then speed it up again to go down, and then this again. It worked really well.
It's the great thing too with working with you, because you have so many ideas that I would never even think of. So there's a bit where I say, what is it? Every step into woman, or any time that I'm trying to be a woman, it's a step backwards.
It's a step in the exactly. It's a step in the wrong direction. Yeah.
It was one better than I do. And what you did is you took the footage and then you reversed the footage, which was great. And I never would have thought of doing it that way. And other bits where the way that you played with the footage is just, I wouldn't have thought about it, especially altering the speed. And so I think it's so great because if I had just made this thing on my own, well, it would have been rubbish, but I also just wouldn't have been able to draw on that idea bank, on that expertise. So it's super cool. Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome. Well, lots of stuff in the works. Lots of new.
I think so. I'm excited. I don't have anything massive on the horizon, but I need new projects.
This man needs new projects.
Bring them to me.
You can find all of his information down there. In the description box. And Perry, where can you find the subscribe button?
I think this time I may place it there.
Like there?
Like there?
Is that
maybe
what we're
there.
Thinking?
I think
there?
maybe around there. Yeah.
All right. So I think we'll put it there.
Okay. All right. Nice little subscribe button.
Yay!
There. Yeah.
Thank you, Perry.
Thanks, guys.